So the plan was to do episode 2 of the My GM series. Then this Jimmy Butler thing came out, and so now it's milk this for 2 videos. We're going to talk about the 3 teams that Jimmy Butler has on his list: the Clippers, Nets, and Knicks. We're going to start with the Clippers because I think they're the most unpredictable of the 3. Well, actually, we're going to start with the T-Wolves. It's going to be interesting to see what the T-Wolves actually want back in a Jimmy Butler trade, because they could go for a win right now sort of thing, which I would guess that that's what Thibodeau would want, because that's what coaches typically trade for. But also, I do think there's some reason to do that even if you're a front office exec, because it's like, you've already got Wiggins and Towns, and Wiggins is entering his 5th season, Towns is entering his 4th. Maybe these two just need as many good veterans who play defense and all that stuff around them, more so than other young players who are not really ready to help this team win, And that's not to say that I think that Wiggins and Towns can't win at all, but the main reason why they made the postseason this year was, of course, because of Jimmy Butler, so they need some help. And if that's the case, then the Clippers would definitely be the best team for that, because the Knicks and the Nets, it's mainly young guys. So, if the T-Wolves want young players, and assuming the Knicks and Nets would actually be down for a move, then you look at one of those two. But if you want something right now, then the Clippers are definitely the team to look at, because there's Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, Patrick Beverley, Danilo Gallinari. A lot of these guys are on 1-year deals, which was intentional by the Clippers to give themselves as much cap space as possible. And it does give them the opportunity to maybe get another max player with Jimmy this offseason, which is apparently something that Jimmy Butler definitely noticed with them. So looking at the Clippers, what's the move? Would Thibodeau be so all in on winning right now that he would take Tobias Harris, Patrick Beverley, a first-round pick, and then a protected other pick? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I have to think you'd care about the future at least a little bit more. If you could at least get Jerome Robinson, then that would be something. I doubt the Clippers would give up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't think they should either. But I don't know. The negotiations would definitely be interesting in that situation, right? Now, if I'm the Clippers, am I content with giving up any of these veterans? I mean, honestly, kind of, because I think as long as you're not giving up every veteran you have, then I think you could still put a decent team out there next year between Lou Williams, Jimmy Butler. Let's say you traded Tobias, Patrick Beverley, Jerome Robinson, and some protected first, right? Then your teams like Jimmy Butler, Avery Bradley, Lou Williams, you got Gortat still. You can probably scour free agency or something for someone else to just be a body. You still got Gallinari. That team can win games, you know what I mean? And then that team could impress other free agents enough to where someone else could maybe sign on. You still got Jimmy Butler, who we assume would re-sign because he said he would re-sign. And then you're off and rolling, and there you go. Now you got your team for the next, 4 or 5 years or whatever. Mission accomplished. And you would still be able to hold on to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so your future wouldn't be thrown in the dumpster either. The Clippers are definitely in a good position to make that kind of move, or they could choose not to because they'd rather hold on for something else. I don't know what that something else would be, but I don't know. You never really know what NBA teams are thinking. If we can move on to the Knicks and the Nets, again, these would definitely be the T-Wolves want young guys and draft picks thing. The Knicks GM just said he would not be willing to trade firsts for guys who are going to be free agents. I think that's a smart move, and they should hold on to those picks for all they can, and James Dolan should not insert himself into these negotiations. He should not demand that they get Jimmy Butler by any means necessary, because this team is still Porzingis and Ntilikina and Kevin Knox and taking flyers on guys like Amudia and Hazonia, and you build it up that way, right? Mitchell Robinson's another one. I would not suggest trading the upcoming first and Neil Aquina and Mitchell Robinson and something else for Jimmy Butler. I would say no to that kind of thing because, like, would that make you better right now? It would. However, you don't have Porzingis for most of this year. That's not going to help you with your convincing Jimmy Butler to stay thing, even if you'd probably still make the playoffs in the East with JB. But the other thing is, it just doesn't really match up with the trajectory of everybody else, you know? Because Jimmy Butler, by the time he's 32, 33, that's when Kevin Knox is like just entering his prime, which, I mean, that's not bad, but it's not great. On top of that, Jimmy routinely misses some time with injuries. Maybe his decline will be a little sharper than the average player. I think there's too much risk there. So everything I just said about the Knicks, I think you could also say about the Nets, where trading away too much of what you've built over the last couple of years would probably not be the best idea. Especially because, similar to New York, you've got options in free agency, you know? Like, there's a chance you could end up keeping most of your young guys and then still making some sort of splash or a series of splashes in free agency. I mean, you do have New York going for you, right? I guess the counter could be, well, what if you traded like 2 of the young dudes or something, if the T-Wolves just wanted to go all out in that direction? As far as who those guys could be, I don't know. Between Jared Allen, LeVert, Dinwiddie, Russell, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson is another one. John Musa is another one. Maybe if you wouldn't have to trade all of them, you could keep a couple of them. And then you could also, like, you trade the Nuggets pick, and maybe you trade a protected first. I mean, that kind of got you into trouble once already, so maybe don't go too nuts. And then, you'd still have the money to go for, like, another star. Like, I see the rationale, but part of that just sounds like if you're trading in, like, 2K, whereas in real life, stuff's not always that convenient. Like, typically it's like the other team's going to want another draft pick, or they're going to want, like, one extra young dude that you're not willing to give up. And then before you know it, it's like, we're trading away too much. Now, if you were able to keep enough and then still give yourself options moving forward, I mean, maybe the Nets could entertain it, but another thing we got to talk about here is Jimmy Butler already clashed with Wiggins and Towns. How the hell you think he's going to work with D'Angelo freaking Russell? The guy who looks like he's asleep half the time. Like, I'm not betting on that working, you know? Also, while I like Jared Allen and I think he can be an awesome defender, do I think it's going to happen in year 2? No. So Jimmy might get frustrated with him as well. Yeah, I just don't love the idea of the Nets going for it. I think, similar to the Knicks, you got what you got, stick with it. But if something crazy happens and the T-Wolves are not asking for that much, then I guess you could swing the dice, or roll the dice, however the term goes. So that's this whole Jimmy Butler thing for you. Basically, I have no idea. So we'll see what happens.